Is Marvel's last chance to recover Fantastic Four First Steps already dead on arrival? I don't know, but so far it's not looking good. People are making a lot of hay about the latest round of pressers that the Fantastic Four cast members have been doing. And it seems to be, with the exception of the guy who plays the Thing, whose name escapes me, all of the major actors, Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, and Stranger Things, Joseph Quinn, have been making moves saying things that unfortunately trigger our woke radar, trigger PTSD from the last number of years of terrible movies that unfortunately were made either bad inherently or made worse because of identity politics and the sort of wokeness of Hollywood. So let's read this article from Bleeding Fool. Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four First Steps is one of the most anticipated superhero films of 2025. I'll just jump in real quick and say, compared to what other superhero movies are anticipated at all and anticipated of 2025? Ugh, there really aren't many, are there? Some of that is superhero fatigue. Some of that is a legitimate superhero, maybe even comic book fatigue. They've been not only done to death, but done poorly for long enough that we're just at this point, I would term it much more just Disney fatigue. If you think I'm going to fire up Disney Plus to watch some new thing that they made, the odds of that are zero. No. It's not to say I wouldn't go back and rewatch some of the old Marvel movies. I like the old Marvel movies. I like the old Netflix, Daredevil series. I like them all. Okay, that's not true. I like Daredevil. And I think Iron Fist was not as bad for me as the other ones. But if you think I'm going to gamble my time on the possibility that the new Daredevil's good, which apparently it's supposed to be, or the new Fantastic Four is going to be good, I'm not taking the chance. My time is more valuable, even if it is spent just zoning out, staring at the ceiling while I'm pondering existential dread. It's still more valuable than possibly wasting it on some crappy Fantastic Four movie or some crappy Daredevil or some new woke Star Wars XYZ. I don't care. I ain't got that kind of time. But for many longtime fans, excitement has given way to anxiety. Recent interviews with the cast and creative team have only fueled concerns that the movie will be another woke misstep from Marvel, prioritizing social messaging and identity politics over the adventurous spirit and family dynamics that made the Fantastic Four iconic. I will say my experience of reading Fantastic Four basically started with the Mark Waid era. So I'm going to say that was 20, 30 years ago, maybe. But it was when the run started, I think. And then continued to read all the way through Hickman. That was pretty much the last bit of the Fantastic Four that I read. And through all of that, I liked it. It was a good book, but I never went back and reread the other stuff. I'd seen cartoons, and I'm aware of the dynamics that, are sort of the most pervasive in the lore of the comics, even though that dynamic was not really extant in the time that I was reading the comic, such as they're going to talk about Johnny Storm now. Johnny Storm being like the player, being the ladies' guy, always out about, this is the Chris Evans Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm. He always struck me as a huge dick. I didn't like him at all. The Chris Evans, Johnny Storm, I just didn't like him. He never came off as all that much fun or interesting or anything like that. And I guess did kind of redeem himself, but I feel like Johnny Storm's got the coolest powers out of the Fantastic Four before Sue Storm gets her like huge upgrade. And in the comics, whenever I was reading it, Johnny Storm is like a put together character. He's not a mess. He's not out there, you know, slapping ladies on the butt and going like, "Hey, sweet cheeks, let's come back to my place." That's just lame. It's kind of cringe. And apparently, this Johnny Storm is going to be a little bit more like that older, more seasoned Johnny Storm from the comics that I remember, which I'm fine with. I don't have a problem with this at all. The first red flag for fans came from the cast's own words about how the characters are being reimagined for modern sensibilities. Joseph Quinn, who plays Johnny Storm, openly discussed how his Human Torch will be different from previous versions. He was branded as this womanizing, devil may care guy, but is that sexy these days? I don't think so. This version of Johnny is less callous with other people's feelings, and hopefully there's a self awareness about what's driving that attention seeking behavior. Okay, self awareness about what's driving that attention seeking behavior. Oh my God, actually, you know what? Men, they don't want to go out and hook up. If you are a rock star superhero, young 20-year-old, hotshot ace pilot with, a family that's Reed Richards is like a billionaire, living in a giant, building that you own, you're never going to want to go out and hook up with some hot woman that also wants to hook up with you. It's just not. Come on, man. You don't actually want to do that, right? I understand that there's a higher calling of, hey, look, men want a more settled relationship. We want a wife, we want kids, we want family, we want connection. Yes, I get it. That's true. But it's completely ridiculous to say that we also don't want the playboy lifestyle. There is also a calling to that. And we have to decide, which to pursue at the expense of the other. You can't have the playboy Hugh Hefner lifestyle and a settled good family. You can't have the settled good family life while also going out there and playing the field like a crazy person. You get to pick one. Which one do you want as your highest good? Which one are you going to pursue? So, the attention seeking behavior, he's a man and, can get fun things. He wants to pursue some fun stuff. Don't make it more than that. For many, this signals a deliberate move away from the brash, flawed Johnny that fans loved in favor of a sanitized, more socially acceptable version. Again, this is the character that I'm actually least concerned with if they change from the 1960s 1970s version of the character and make him much more reminiscent of the Mark Waid, the Jonathan Hickman version of the character that is, I suppose, still like a little bit of, he's not living a super duper crazy bachelor lifestyle, but he's also, more settled, more reasonable, more adult. That's fine. Vanessa Kirby, who takes on the role of Sue Storm, has also made it clear that her Invisible Woman will be shaped by contemporary gender politics. If you played an exact 60s Sue today, everyone would think she was a bit of a doormat, Kirby said. So figuring out how to capture the essence of what she represented to each generation, where the gender politics were different. That is the main mistake here, her word choice. She should not have said gender politics. She could have just said, hey, look, Sue Storm in the comics, she's very different in the 60s than she is in, again, point the terms out. Mark Waid, Jonathan Hickman, some other writer. Yeah. In that era, they're different characters. Which one resonated with me the most? This version of the character. That's what you should have said. And no one would have ran screaming. They would all have gone, oh man, she's read the comics. This is really cool. Okay. Where the gender politics were different and embody that today was one of the greatest joys of this. While updating Sue's character is understandable, the focus on gender politics and again, quote on gender politics, has left some fans worried that the film will be more about making statements than telling a great story. This is why I say these pressers were triggering, because the woke talking points signal that this was made during the era wherein which storytelling, character writing, writing in general was less important to political messaging, political ideology, and the things that come with it was the focus of the creation of the film. And unfortunately, that always takes away from the storytelling, from the other writing, from making a good, solid piece of art and entertainment. You've now divorced that. You've said we're going to focus on the politicization of these media figures, and the storytelling goes out the window. Now, I'll be totally honest. Again, this is perhaps just poor wording on her choice. This is perhaps, again, she probably, in Hollywood doing all these types of things, she probably is a bit of a believer in these things. But she's doing press. You're trying to sell this movie. Do not say the things that piss your fans off. Do not say the things that make people want to not see your movie because they think it's going to be crappy. You're saying the things that are making me think, this movie's not concerned with the things that make a movie good. They're concerned about things that make their ESG scores good. That's not good for your bottom line. But I guess, you're not being a crazy, bitch about it like Rachel Ziegler, so we maybe give you a little bit of generosity. We give a little bit of charity and say, you know what? She's still in the mindset of 2020 movie making where people did not know that was box office poison. Even lead star Pedro Pascal didn't wow attendees to the recent CinemaCon event. According to Film Threat's Chris Gore, I don't think Pedro makes a good Mr. Fantastic. I was underwhelmed. Take a look at that discussion here. I'm not going to do that, but I will summarize with Chris Gore said. He's in too many movies. He's in too many movies. He is not a good Mr. Fantastic. We don't see Mr. Fantastic. We don't see Reed Richards. We see Pedro Pascal, which I think is a completely fair point. All of these other characters, like Vanessa Kirby, she's in some other stuff. Joseph Quinn, he's in Stranger Things. The guy from The Bear who's playing the Thing or voicing the Thing. Again, these are all way lesser known actors who have demonstrated that they're good actors, and therefore we can see the character. We're not seeing the actor, we're seeing the character. Pedro Pascal, unfortunately, he has become oversaturated and he's become, almost like a little bit too famous for these big leading roles, especially when, as a Mr. Fantastic, we don't really see him. Especially with, I don't know if they mention it in this specific, no. In this article, they don't mention it, but Pedro Pascal is like, I'm playing a much more emotionally involved character. Reed Richards is like semi-autistic super genius. He is not emotionally intuitive. He is not emotionally intelligent. It's not to say he can't be, it's just that the things that he's dealing with, the things that are interesting to him, are so much more important that the personal relationships just kind of fall by the wayside. He's less not able to deal with emotions and more just a workaholic who doesn't have time for it. And when the things that you're a workaholic about are saving the universe and, like solving global hunger or something like that, you kind of get a pass. All right. And as mentioned in the clip above, the changes don't stop at the core four. Marvel's decision to gender swap the Silver Surfer, casting Julia Garner as Shala Bal, was immediately met with skepticism. While the female Shala Bal has appeared in the comics, it was only once, and making this change feels like a move to prioritize messaging over fidelity to source material. Why make this change? Silver Surfer is a male in the comics 99.99% of the time, and he was male in the previous film. Whoever made this decision most likely did so for diversity messaging. Yeah, I mean, there's no other reason to flip this in terms of changing the character. I will say this is not necessarily a bad casting decision, if I'm completely honest, because the Silver Surfer is a weird alien-like figure. I don't actually have a problem with casting a female for the role as long as they're being played as like an androgynous, genderless, weird alien figure. That's fine. A good example of this is Tilda Swinton in Constantine, who plays Gabriel. Gabriel the Archangel. She's played as, this, again, Gabriel's a male name, so that's why you kind of assume it's male. But obviously, she's a very striking looking lady, and it plays very well as she is this alien, higher dimensional archangel that kind of doesn't quite belong in the earthly realm. She is a good casting choice, and it's a really cool decision. That's not what they're doing it. They're changing the character. And they changed the character so they could cast a female in the role. It's not an interesting casting decision. It is more of a diversity decision. And that's not great. These creative choices have led to a growing perception that Marvel was more interested in cultural engineering than in honoring what made the Fantastic Four special. At this point, it's fair to wonder if Marvel was more interested in making statements than making movies. We say this because that certainly has been the case for the last, and again, Marvel, Disney in general, much more interested in messaging than movies. For the last 4 years, they've made crappy content and a lot of statements. They're probably trying to reorganize now. They're probably trying to, aim more at making movies because those are long term what makes your movie studio a valuable property. But is Fantastic Four timed correctly? Did they have enough time to revamp? Was this ever aimed in the right direction? I don't know. We'll see when the movie comes out. Fans have long yearned for a Fantastic Four film that captures the adventurous spirit and family dynamics that made the comics iconic. Instead, First Steps appeared poised to serve as yet another platform for Marvel Studios' ongoing experiment in cultural engineering. Now, here's the thing about the ongoing experiment: the experiment's failed. The experiment failed. It doesn't work, and it's not what people want. People just inherently recoil from it, which leads to bad ticket sales. Director Matt Shakman and Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige have emphasized the importance of casting and chemistry. And there's no doubt the film boasts a talented ensemble, but for many fans, the heart of the Fantastic Four lies in their classic personalities and relationships, not in how well the film checks modern cultural boxes. With the cast and crew openly discussing how the characters are being updated to fit today's values, and even some rumors beginning to circulate of a gay Ben Grimm. It's no surprise that fans are worried Fantastic Four First Steps will be remembered less for its storytelling and more for its woke approach. Now, a gay Ben Grimm, oh my god, if that's for real, that's just it's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. Oh my god. That would be like, again, that's the camel that broke the back. That's just like, that would be the thing that would just be like, nah, okay, we're done. I'm not even interested in this at all. You didn't give a shit about this at all. If that's what you're gonna do, you're just gonna, yeah, okay, he's gay now. Make him gay. Make him lame. I'm sorry, dude. Like, if that's the way you're approaching these things, get out. Get out of the writer's room. You don't deserve to be there. Okay? Is the movie gonna be good? I don't know. Probably not. Am I going to go see it? Am I excited? Am I rushing out? Do I have tickets pre ordered? Of course not. It's a Disney movie. They've destroyed their brand, they've destroyed their company, they've destroyed any reason for anybody in the real world to actually get excited for any of their properties. The only people that are, again, only reason I'm talking about this is because I have a YouTube channel and I'm making a video. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know Fantastic Four is coming out. I wouldn't care at all. Maybe if, 6 months down the line when it comes out on streaming and I heard good reviews about it, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, let me check that out. But you know what? Even there, I doubt it. You wanna know how I know? Deadpool and Wolverine, everybody loved it. I haven't seen it. I have Disney Plus. I haven't seen it. I haven't. It just, yeah, it just never came up. Kind of not really a thing that I feel like spending 2 hours on. I'm like, again, I would probably like it. Disney Plus, booting it up, looking for it. Nah, can't be bothered, man. Can't be bothered. That's the hole they're trying to dig themselves out of. If this movie is not fantastic, they're toast forever. With that being said, good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you for your time and attention. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for Fantastic Four? Farewell for now.